A remarkable alignment is unfolding as two potent solar phenomena converge to reshape our collective experience. First, a fierce solar storm is barreling toward Earth, charged with enough energetic force to stir the planet's magnetic field and disrupt the subtle electrochemical rhythms of our bodies. And just 48 hours later, the Sun itself will glide into Taurus, the zodiac sign synonymous with stability, the senses, and the physical realm. This is far more than coincidence. It's a deliberate cosmic choreography designed to jolt us out of complacency and then ground us anew. As the charged particles of the solar storm buffet our planet, we may feel an internal echo in the form of heightened restlessness, unpredictable mood shifts, or a sudden desire for sensory comfort. Yet almost immediately afterward, Taurus energy begins to weave its slow, deliberate cadence into our lives, inviting us to anchor ourselves in tangible reality, our bones, our breath, our most basic survival instincts. The interplay between this jarring shake and stabilizing ground effect offers a powerful opportunity. By confronting disruption and then intentionally embracing physical presence, we undergo a kind of spiritual conditioning through embodied intensity. In waking life, we might find ourselves dreaming vividly of upheaval, tipping us off to subconscious rehearsals in which we practice resilience before catastrophe strikes. Meanwhile, on the daylight stage, we'll feel drawn to tactile comforts, home-cooked meals, familiar music, nature walks, not as mere escapism, but as essential rituals for recalibrating our nervous systems. This twin surge of cosmic energy doesn't merely test our equilibrium. It teaches us how to reclaim it, transforming what could be disorienting into a guided lesson in finding our center amidst storms both literal and metaphorical. The recent solar storm isn't just a headline, it's a literal ripple through the very fabric of our planet and our own physiology. As charged particles surge toward Earth, they buffet the magnetosphere, causing subtle fluctuations in geomagnetic activity that can cascade down to affect our nervous systems, sleep patterns, and mood stability. You might notice an inexplicable restlessness, sudden tension in your body, or vivid, emotionally charged dreams. These are your bioelectrical rhythms responding to the solar gusts. Yet just as these invisible forces rattle our internal wiring, the Sun's imminent entry into Taurus offers a counterbalance grounded in the sensory and the tangible. Taurus, ruled by Venus, and associated with the second house of the zodiac, emphasizes the body's wisdom, the steady beat of the heart, the weight of bones, the richness of taste, and the comfort of touch. Under this influence, you may find yourself instinctively craving warmth and texture, perhaps a soft blanket, a nourishing meal, or the reassuring solidity of the earth beneath your feet. Where the solar storm pulls you into a state of high alert, Taurus gently reminds you to return to the body's baseline, to savor each breath, to feel the press of your feet on the floor, and to recognize that your physical vessel is your primary sanctuary. In practical terms, this means tuning into grounding practices, walking barefoot on grass, mindful eating, gentle stretching, or simply placing your hands over your heart and breathing deeply. By consciously anchoring yourself in these simple sensory rituals, you harness Taurus's steadying force to integrate and metabolize the storm's high-voltage energy. Rather than being buffeted endlessly by external upheaval, you become the calm center, translating cosmic turbulence into embodied presence and resilient equilibrium. Intense, anxiety-soaked dreams, whether you're racing through an airport, to catch an impossible flight, or watching a bridge buckle beneath your feet, function far more than mere nighttime disturbances. They act as covert training sessions for your body and mind. In these vivid simulations, your nervous system is rehearsing high-pressure scenarios in which panic and adrenaline surge, yet you never truly face real danger. Instead, your subconscious mind orchestrates sensory-rich scenarios that allow you to practice responding calmly to overwhelming stressors. Each thundering heartbeat, each moment of breathlessness becomes a lesson in self-regulation, teaching you how to steady your nerves when you feel cornered. Over time, this dream-induced groundwork builds a reservoir of resilience, so that when genuine crises arise, whether a contentious conversation, an urgent deadline, or an unexpected life hurdle, you draw upon the coping strategies you've unknowingly sharpened in sleep. The imagery may be dramatic, a collapsing structure or a last-minute boarding call, but its purpose is practical: to expose you to the feeling of imminent loss of control, then guide you toward an internal, still point where you can observe fear without being consumed by it. In this way, your dream world becomes a rehearsal space, and the more frequently you confront these nocturnal trials, the more your physiological responses adapt. Your pulse may pound in the moment, but as you learn to breathe through the tension, even in your imagination, you're laying down neural pathways that say, "I can handle this." By morning, the emotional residue of that terror often dissipates, leaving behind a steadier sense of confidence. What might feel like a disruptive pattern of nightmares is, in reality, a carefully choreographed exercise in emotional endurance, equipping you to meet waking challenges with greater composure and poise. Taurus's approach to safety isn't a gentle suggestion to slow down. It's a full-throttle, immersive training ground that deliberately throws you into situations of potential loss or collapse, so you can learn to find your footing when everything feels like it's falling apart. Rather than simply advising you to take it easy, Taurus energy engineers scenarios, whether in waking life or through vivid dreams, that simulate the abrupt destabilizations we all dread. A sudden financial shortfall, the erosion of a long-standing routine, the heartbreak of a trusted relationship unraveling, or the frightening sensation of solid ground giving way beneath your feet. In these crucible moments, your instinct may be to panic, to scramble for safety, or to retreat into denial. But Taurus invites a different response. As you navigate the sensory intensity of these loss drills, you're training your nervous system to anchor itself amid chaos, using every fiber of your physical awareness, your breath, your heartbeat, the weight of your spine, the grounding pressure of your feet, to reestablish equilibrium. Over time, these repeated tests build a reservoir of inner stability. You learn not only how to weather the storm, but how to reclaim presence from within the eye of the hurricane. Importantly, this isn't a one-and-done lesson. It's an ongoing apprenticeship in resilience, where each unsettling experience deepens your capacity to trust in your own ability to remain centered. By turning potential breakdowns into opportunities for embodied empowerment, Taurus transforms crisis into a kind of spiritual cross-training, conditioning you to embody calm under pressure and to recognize that true security arises not from avoiding upheaval, but from cultivating the steadfast inner landscape that no external tremor can overcome. You may find yourself caught in a subtle tug-of-war between the urge to lay everything bare and the instinct to retreat into your shell, as though your soul is conducting its own safety audit to discover exactly when and with whom you can safely drop the facade. On one hand, there's the powerful drive to share your inner world, to unburden yourself in the hope of forging deeper bonds. You might flood a confidant with details you've never voiced before, seeking that empathetic echo that confirms, "I see you, and I accept you." Yet almost as quickly, you may slam the door shut on your emotions, clamping your mouth and retreating into a fortress of silence, determined to shield your vulnerability from potential rejection or misunderstanding. This oscillation between overexposure and guardedness isn't a sign of instability, but rather a form of inner calibration. Your psyche is testing the waters to determine where authenticity is met with compassion rather than judgment. Each impulse to speak up or clam up becomes a data point. Does this person truly listen? Does this environment feel safe? Over time, these micro-experiments teach you where genuine intimacy can flourish and where the risk remains too great. What emerges from this push and pull is not a confused heart, but a more discerning one, someone learning to modulate vulnerability with wisdom, to choose when to open the floodgates and when to preserve their reserves. Ultimately, this dynamic interplay guides you toward relationships and spaces that honor your truth, inviting you to trust that when the right conditions are met, you can reveal your real self, and that, when you do, you will be held rather than hurt. Taurus, the zodiac's guardian of the throat and the honest voice, invites you this season into a delicate dance between speaking your truth and preserving your inner integrity. Under its influence, the throat chakra becomes not just a physical conduit for sound but a spiritual channel demanding authenticity balanced with self-respect. You might feel a pulsing urge to finally voice long-held convictions, to proclaim your needs and boundaries with the clarity of a bell. Yet alongside that bold impulse comes a whisper of caution. You must not give so much of yourself away that what you say becomes a sacrifice of your own well-being. In other words, this is not a mandate for reckless oversharing, where raw emotion spills out like an overflowing cup, nor is it a justification for retreating into a defensive shell of silence. Instead, Taurus teaches the art of measured expression, choosing words that honor both your inner truth and your personal limits. When you speak, let each sentence be an offering rather than an exhaustion of your reserves. Firm enough to convey your needs, yet gentle enough to allow space for mutual understanding. Conversely, when you find yourself leaning into silence, resist the temptation to hide behind it as a protective wall. True Taurus strength lies in holding silence not as avoidance, but as a mindful pause, a moment to gather your center and discern what truly deserves to emerge next. In this way, the season becomes a workshop in boundary-savvy communication, how to let your voice resonate without eroding your core, and how to embrace quiet without forsaking connection. Ultimately, by navigating this interplay between honest expression and self-abandonment, you learn that your most potent words are those that arise from a place of both courage and care, and that true silence can be as eloquent as your most impassioned declaration. At times, you may notice an almost magnetic pull toward the simplest of comforts, a craving for indulgent foods that soothe your nerves, a yearning for nostalgia-laden music, or scents that transport you to simpler times, or a sudden urge to immerse yourself in the calming embrace of nature. These impulses are far more than fleeting whims. They function as spiritual alarms, signaling that your soul is seeking refuge and recalibration. On one hand, comfort can serve as vital medicine, offering a gentle balm to frayed nerves and reminding you that it's safe to slow down, savor the present moment, and honor your basic human needs for rest, pleasure, and grounding. A warm meal can reconnect you to your body's wisdom. A cherished melody can evoke feelings of belonging. And a walk in the woods can remind you that you, too, are part of something vast and alive. Yet on the other hand, these cravings can conceal a subtler danger. When comfort becomes an automatic escape hatch, it risks morphing into a trap that stifles growth. If every anxiety-driven impulse is met only with distraction or avoidance, whether through binge-watching, emotional eating, or perpetual daydreaming, you may inadvertently reinforce patterns of resistance against the very challenges you need to confront. True Taurus-inspired healing lies in discerning the difference between replenishment and evasion, between moments of restorative pause that nourish your spirit and comfort rituals that become barriers to your evolution. When you feel that familiar tug toward ease, pause and inquire within. Is this choice inviting me into deeper alignment, or is it shielding me from necessary discomfort? By honoring comfort as both a gift and a test, you learn to use its gentle energy to anchor yourself more fully in your journey, rather than to bury the very lessons that will propel you toward greater resilience and authenticity. You're entering a period of what might be called a cosmic audit, in which the universe gently, but inexorably, examines exactly where you devote your most precious resources, your time, your energy, and your love. Under Taurus's watchful influence, every yes you offer to invitations, commitments, and relationships is scrutinized for its true worth. If you find yourself agreeing to obligations that leave you depleted, or clinging to connections that no longer nourish your spirit, you'll begin to feel Taurus's signature resistance, a slow gravitational pressure that gently closes one door before opening another. These subtle shifts aren't punishments. Rather, they're protection mechanisms designed to uphold your intrinsic value. When you say yes to something unworthy, whether it's a draining project, a lopsided friendship, or a habit that no longer serves, you trigger the cosmos's redirection protocols. Suddenly, opportunities vanish, messages go unanswered, or routines collapse under their own imbalance, pushing you to reevaluate and reclaim what truly matters. Conversely, when you align your commitments with your deepest needs, saying yes only to what resonates with your inner worth, doors begin to open with surprising ease, inviting experiences that mirror your authentic priorities. This audit isn't about accumulating more, but about refining your focus. It asks you to define abundance, not by external measures, but by the fulfillment you receive in return for what you invest. Over the next few weeks, notice where friction arises. Those are exactly the places where your boundaries need reinforcement. Embrace the pressure as an opportunity to adjust your course, to say no to what drains you and yes to what uplifts you. In doing so, you not only safeguard your own value, you demonstrate to the world that your time, energy, and love are precious currencies, to be shared only where they're truly honored. In this season, we are invited to rethink what it truly means to have enough and to experience genuine abundance. We often equate abundance with an ever-growing list of possessions, achievements, and external validations. Yet this season poses the powerful question: if all those external markers of success were to vanish tomorrow, would we still believe in our own worth? Stripping away the trappings of material wealth, social status, and outward accomplishments reveals a more essential truth. Our value is not found in what we accumulate, but in who we are at our core. True abundance, then, is not measured by the fullness of our bank accounts or the number of accolades on our shelves. It is found in the quiet certainty that we are inherently worthy, complete, and deserving of love and belonging simply by virtue of our existence. By redefining abundance and enoughness in this way, we shift from a mindset of endless striving to one of deep gratitude and contentment. We begin to recognize that our capacity to give, to connect, and to live authentically flows from the recognition of our intrinsic value rather than from the pursuit of more. When we embrace this perspective, we no longer chase external goals as proof of our significance. Instead, we cultivate an inner wellspring of confidence and peace that remains steadfast, regardless of circumstances. In remembering that we ourselves are the source of sufficientness, we unlock a more sustainable, compassionate way of living, one in which generosity, fulfillment, and purpose arise naturally from a heart that already knows it has enough. True leadership often reveals itself not in grand speeches or dramatic gestures, but in the quiet confidence that arises when we stand firm amid life's challenges. As we endure tests of patience, resilience, and character, we cultivate an inner stillness that radiates outward, inviting others to find calm in our presence. This groundedness, a deep-rooted steadiness born of self-awareness and humility, serves as a magnetic space of support where colleagues, friends, and family members instinctively gather when they seek perspective or reassurance. Unlike the boisterous proclamations of authority, this form of leadership speaks through consistency rather than volume, demonstrating strength through poise rather than pressure. By weathering adversity without panic or pretense, we model a way of being that says, "I remain serene even when circumstances shift," and in doing so, we foster trust and loyalty. People are drawn not to the spotlight, but to the secure foundation we provide, allowing them to ground themselves and perform at their best. In its highest expression, grounded leadership transcends hierarchical titles or power dynamics. It is a relational force that uplifts everyone in its orbit. When we lead from this place of calm conviction, we enable collective resilience, encouraging others to tap into their own reserves of courage and creativity. Ultimately, the emergence of grounded leadership transforms every challenge into an opportunity for growth, for connection, and for cultivating a shared sense of purpose. It reminds us that the most profound influence we can wield is not through imposing our will on others, but through embodying the steady, compassionate presence we wish to see in the world.